My name is Aaron, and I grew up in the world of metal. In fact, it's the only thing I ever really cared about in terms of music. But you know what, recently, I've wanted something a little bit different. Okay, everybody, for the last song of the day, we're going to Fake Love. That's right. Let's check it out, see what we have here, and I'll talk to you afterwards. I'd like to see what is presented before I give my thoughts as much as I possibly can. Sometimes I get a little bit giddy, but hey, it happens. Let's check it.
날 위해서라면 난 슬퍼도 기쁜 척할 수가 있었어 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어 사랑이 사랑만은 너 완벽하게 네 모든 내 잠들은 다 숨겨지기에 이루어지지 않는 꿈 속에서 피할 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어 I'm so sick of this fake love, fake love, fake love I'm so sorry but it's fake love, fake love, fake love I wanna be a goner just for you 세상을 전해 just for you 전부 바꿔서 just for you 나를 너무 for you Hey 우리만의 수 너는 없어 내가 완전 proof 잊어버렸어 나도 내가 누구였는지도 잘 모르게 됐어 거울에다 뒤걸려봐 너는 대체 누구래 위해서라면 난 슬퍼도 기쁜 척할 수가 있었어 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어 사랑이 사랑만을 너무 완벽하게 내 모든 점들은 다 숨겨지게 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 이을 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어 Lie you're so bad, lie you're so bad 날 위해 예쁜 거짓을 빚어내 Lie you're so mad, lie you're so mad 널 지원해 여기들을 해 Lie you're so bad, lie you're so bad 날 위해 예쁜 거짓을 빚어내 Lie you're so mad, lie you're so mad 널 지원해 여기들을 해 I'm so sick of this fake love, fake love 있었어 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어 사랑이 사랑만으로 완벽하기에 내 모든 약점들은 다 숨겨지기에 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 피울 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어
Okay. Wow. There is a lot to cover in this. First and foremost, the video itself has a lot of symbology. And we're going to start off even right here. Obviously, representing the relationship right here is what I'm going to guess. And then shutting themselves out from, you know, your normal life.
날 위해서라면 난 슬퍼도 기쁜 척할 수가 있었어 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어
I think that's actually pretty interesting because I think there's a lot of concessions that we have to make inside of relationships. I think that this is actually something that sometimes happens where your partner might not mean, or sometimes they do, mean to say something that they don't mean to, or they do, and so that's really sad. But it hurts, and I think that a lot of us sometimes have to pretend that it didn't. And I think at some point, I think that could also include us. I think that's a kind of a cool thought process. Like, a lot of times you know when it's fake. A lot of times you know when what's going on isn't exactly the most genuine thing that you've been going through. But he's still trying to protect it. I think for me, I can personally relate to that. Every single time I've ever had a relationship, I've always just tried personally to kind of give what I can in the most utmost degree. Okay, this part right here actually really stood out to me, because the fact of the matter is that one thing that almost inevitably always happens when it comes to being in a relationship is you take on a lot of hobbies and pastimes that you don't and would never think of doing, but because the other person likes it, you're kind of also meant to go along with it. I think that's also really interesting, because I think a lot of times we can forget who we are. But, you know, I think a lot of times whenever you hear inside of a relationship, like, you're not even the person that I fell in love with. Sometimes people don't know who they are, or they do, and they feel like that they have to hide it.
사랑이 사랑만을 완벽하게 내 모든 약점들은 다 숨겨지게 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 피울 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어 나의 사발 나의 사발 날 위해 이번까지 셀비 전에 너였음에 널 지원해 여기들을 해 나의 사발 날 위해 이번까지 셀비 전에
So I think the thing that's really interesting about that particular part is I think there's two versions of that lantern. One is the one that has a flower, and two that has the sand. Obviously, a lot of times in symbology, sand represents time. And if you look, it almost could have been like a hourglass that has reached the bottom. Now the world is crumbling around him, so he's trying to run out of the house. Notice how all the frames are empty.
Why you stop? I don't know. 난 몰라. 웃어봐. 사랑해. 말해봐. 나를 봐. 나조차 또 버리나. 너조차.
I think that's also really interesting. Even You Can't Understand Me talks about like, hey, I told you that I love you. I told you that I gave you who I am, and now I don't even understand who I am. You don't.
다시 보는 나. 낯설다 하는 네가 좋아하던 나로 변한 내가. 아니라 하는 예전에 네가 잘 알고 있던 내가. 하는 게 뭐가? 난 네 멀었어. 사랑은 뭐가 살아? It's so fake love. I don't know.
I almost wonder if this is a representation of like developing an unhealthy habit because of the relationship right there. Like a bunch of Snicker bars. It's possible.
I don't know why. 나도 날 모르겠어. I just know why. 'Cause it's a fake love, fake love, fake love.
So this part I found really interesting right here. This right here, I would say is an allegory for the emotions that we all go through. This is almost like the emotions that of grieving. No matter what he did, the sand still ran out. To me, this is a face of, I can't believe how hurt I am, and I can't believe you're gone. But then suddenly there's a look of optimism. It's almost as if he's letting go. I find that interesting as well. I keep saying that. I shouldn't. So that to me is because he is moving on, he's able to move forward. Grief, sadness, usually associated with water. The flooding of emotions. Obviously anger, and sometimes even regret. You could compile that in there in a combustible flame together. And I think the interesting thing is that they play those two. It's almost as if they're going through all of it all at once. Now that smile right there is really telling, because I think that small little thing right there is kind of like a I did it kind of feel to it. I think the interesting thing is you have to be able to almost feel all of that before you are allowed to even move forward. And I think that's why at the very end when all that happens. 널 위해서라면 난 아파도 강한 척할 수가 있었어. 사랑이 사랑만으로 완벽하게 내 모든 약점들은 다 숨겨지기에 이루어지지 않는 꿈속에서 피울 수 없는 꽃을 키웠어. I find it interesting to include the figure in front of them. I'm assuming that's actually themselves having to confront your darker self and your darker emotions. I think the thing that's really interesting about this particular section as well is that I think this is actually representative of them now at this point. Because although they always write stuff for us, I think it's also fair to say that they write stuff for themselves. And let me ask you this. If someone from BTS wishes to get into a relationship, do you think that's easy? Probably not. I think imagine how everybody wants to be in a relationship with you, probably because you're in BTS. How can you tell when it's real and when it's fake? And I think that that's actually kind of an interesting point that they are making right here, because at this point they are kind of giving themselves this silhouette and dark side, because I think a lot of times everybody, wants to be in a relationship, but for them it's a little bit more complicated, so you have to kind of almost fake it as well. You have to see if it's even real in the first place. And I think actually right there, that's actually kind of like purposely adding there, as in like adding it to the arms that are back there, the hands. It's almost as if this is another try kind of feel, or they want to have another try. But seriously, can you imagine trying to be in a relationship and you're in a group like BTS? Like everybody, you'd have to suspect everybody, and that's the truth of it. But I really think that this song is quite interesting in the case of just like, not only is the video really well written, but I think musically this is also actually something that's really quite interesting. This is written in D minor, and so obviously I'm a very literal person. I do find it interesting when people are able to write music that is hopeful when it is written in minor, and I find it interesting when someone can write something sad in major. But this is D minor, and it feels like it's kind of a hard and sadder song. Kind of mix it with some volatile emotions, and you get some fake love. And I think that on top of it all, I think it's just all blends so perfectly together. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just way off, but who knows? Let me know what your thoughts are and what you think that maybe this song could mean, or this video, and we'll discuss it. And as always, I'll try to get to your comments as soon as I can. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody. I love this video so much.